Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are decoding a sudden, intense heat radiating straight from the Base blockchain ecosystem. Now, just for some quick context, Base is that Layer 2 network incubated by Coinbase, and it's specifically designed to bring millions of users on-chain with super low fees and lightning-fast speeds. And if you've been watching the charts or tracking network activity lately, you've probably noticed a pretty massive shift in momentum happening right there. Capital is moving, old wallets are waking up, and a very specific sector is just catching fire. So today, we're going to break down exactly how and why this is happening, and we'll be using a really fascinating rising phenomenon to understand the broader mechanics at play.
Okay, let's dive into this, because here is the core mystery we need to solve today. Are we simply seeing a momentary blip, a weekend pump driven by a few bored traders? Or are we witnessing a structural, massive new phase of vitality on the Base network? When we look at blockchain cycles, true vitality isn't just about the price going up, right? It's about sustained user retention, growing transaction counts, and deep cultural alignment within the network. And the data suggests that something foundational is actually shifting here. We aren't just looking at random noise. We're looking at a highly coordinated, meme-focused surge that could literally define the next major cycle for this entire ecosystem, potentially changing how capital is allocated for months to come.
Section 1. Base ecosystem heating up. Renewed attention.
So what you're seeing right now isn't a case of a rising tide lifting all boats indiscriminately. Instead, overall blockchain activity on the Base platform is acting more like a laser beam. This renewed attention is heavily and very deliberately flowing toward early meme coins. To really understand this, we have to look back to the summer of 2023, which people often call on-chain summer, right when the Base network first launched. Thousands of tokens were created in that initial rush. But right now, market participants aren't blindly chasing brand new, unproven smart contracts. Actually, scratch that. They're returning to the very roots of the network. They're seeking out projects that have been there since the early days. This signals a deep sense of nostalgia paired with some highly calculated speculation. Traders know that older contracts often have locked liquidity and burned keys, making them perceived as much safer bets in what is obviously a very volatile landscape.
Section 2. The Plumber Phenomenon. A case study.
And sitting directly at the center of this renewed attention is Plumber. Launched super early in the lifespan of the Base ecosystem, this token sat relatively dormant for a while before experiencing an absolutely massive revival. It is the perfect archetype of what this current market cycle is looking for. Because it's a prime, early project, it acts as a literal lightning rod for the incoming heat. By tracking exactly how the market treats Plumber, monitoring its holder count, its daily trading volume, and its social media metrics, we can map the exact blueprint of how attention is manifesting across the entire blockchain right now. It serves as our perfect guiding example to figure out the psychology of the current market.
Which brings us to a crucial point from our source material. The more important question isn't just what's happening with Plumber, but whether Base is entering a new phase of meme-focused activity and vitality. This is exactly why this explainer matters to your broader understanding of market trends. We aren't just analyzing a single digital token here. We're using it as a thermometer to measure the overarching health and the speculative appetite of the entire Base network. Think about it. When a token like this surges, it drives up decentralized exchange volume, it increases network gas fees, and it brings net new wallets to the chain. The token is simply the vehicle. Broader network adoption is the actual destination.
Section 3. Mechanics of speculative hype. The liquidity flow.
So let's look at the three-step life cycle of a meme coin boom. Honestly, think of it like a massive pipeline unclogging, which is a pretty fitting metaphor given our subject matter. First, liquidity starts flowing back into the broader ecosystem. This usually happens when capital rotates out of other major chains like Ethereum or Solana, looking for those higher percentage returns on newer networks. Second, instead of just scattering aimlessly, that liquidity specifically targets early tokens. Smart money looks for established liquidity pools where they can enter and exit without massive slippage. And finally, step 3, speculative hype begins to snowball. This part is incredibly mechanical. Algorithmic trading bots pick up the momentum, the token hits the trending tabs on popular exchange screeners, and human FOMO, that fear of missing out, kicks into high gear. It's an almost predictable sequence once those financial valves are opened up.
So the crucial point is that historical foundation and established narratives act as massive magnets for incoming liquidity. In the traditional financial world, there's a concept known as the Lindy effect. It basically theorizes that the future life expectancy of a non-perishable thing is directly proportional to its current age.
Well, in a highly volatile, highly experimental digital landscape like crypto, an established story that has survived for months, that is a rare commodity. It implies trust. When new capital flows in, it naturally gravitates toward what's already understood, what already has a foundation, and what hasn't collapsed under pressure. That proven history is the solid bedrock required for the next round of speculative hype to build upon.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark contrast between completely hidden new projects operating in the dark and a token like PLUMBER. A brand new project today has zero established network, absolutely no history to lean on, and is fighting tooth and nail for visibility among thousands of daily token launches. PLUMBER, however, doesn't just have history, it has a massive competitive advantage in its distribution network. The meme concept has successfully captured the attention of accounts that are intrinsically linked to the Base ecosystem, reaching deep into the wider Coinbase community. We're talking about interactions with actual ecosystem developers and major ecosystem wallets validating the token's presence. In the digital economy, distribution is literally everything. Having a built-in audience provides a structural advantage that a new, hidden project simply cannot replicate overnight.
Section 4. The power of community, sustaining the narrative.
Now, having a distribution network is one thing, but keeping that network actively engaged, that's the real challenge. You have to give the community something highly tangible to hold on to. And here's where the absolute brilliance of simplicity comes in. The plunger concept. This core foundational theme connects directly to the project and gives the community a visual and conceptual tool to play with. There's a deep, inherent absurdity in using a mundane household plumbing tool as a symbol for financial speculation, right? And that absurdity is exactly why it works so well. It cuts through the dry, complex jargon of smart contracts and yield farming and offers a highly engaging, slightly humorous layer to the story. When you give the internet something fun, universally recognizable, and easy to meme, you're essentially pouring gasoline on the narrative fire.
And this brilliantly illustrates a relentless feedback loop. First, the meme gains traction using that foundational plunger concept. Next, the community takes ownership and begins to endlessly reinterpret it. They aren't just passively holding a token, they're actively building decentralized IP. Users start creating plunger-themed pixel art. They write expanding lore about unclogging the blockchain's liquidity pipes. And they develop inside jokes that act as a cultural handshake for anyone in the community. Finally, through that collective crowdsourced effort, the original idea transforms into entirely new, expansive narratives, maybe mini-games or spin-off NFT collections, things the original creators could never have predicted or centrally managed. The community itself becomes the decentralized engine that keeps the whole cycle alive, relevant, and constantly evolving.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound question to consider as we wrap up our analysis today. Once a meme is truly unleashed, once it gains that critical traction and the community's endless, decentralized reinterpretation begins, where does the narrative actually end? What are the true limits of community-driven speculation and collaborative storytelling on a globally accessible platform like Base? The wild reality is, once an idea truly belongs to the internet, there might not be a ceiling at all. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time as we continue to decode the fascinating world around us.